Yo guys, what is good? It's your boy Jamon here, back again with another video. And today we're imagining if US presidents were sneakerheads. Alright, as always, before I begin today's video, if you guys have not seen my most recent video where I go over which is the best ASICS sneaker to have in 2026, I compare the ASICS Gel Kayano 14s to the Gel 1130s, to the GT 2160s, and then to the Gel NYCs. Make sure to go check out that video because I do a breakdown on each of these sneakers, and at the end I talk about which one I think is the best. But today we're going to be continuing my personal series that I started on this channel, if characters were sneakerheads. So basically what this series is that I take two of my passions, so one being sneakers of course, and then the other one being anything that's related to pop culture or the media. So TV shows, movies, video games, comics. Today we're gonna do things a little bit differently because we're not gonna be talking about something that you can see on TV, but history is also a pretty big passion of mine as well. And we're gonna be talking about if US presidents were sneakerheads. Now this video idea is inspired by a couple of younger viewers from my channel. So they've been leaving me a bunch of comments telling me that this is what I should do next. So shout out to those guys. You guys know who you are. You've been giving me a lot of comments telling me that you want me to do this video. And today we're finally going to do it because you know what? I've honestly ran out of video ideas. So why not go ahead with talking about if presidents were sneakerheads. I think I just really love using my creativity. You know, instead of just talking about sneakers themselves, now I'm taking two worlds and bringing them together. So sneakers and then something else that I'm a really big fan of, and I just kind of combine them into one. And I think that's really cool. And if this is a series that you guys want me to keep doing, I would very much appreciate it if you guys could leave me that big thumbs up because it does help the algorithm and it shows me that you guys want to see more of this. I love making these kind of videos. They're a lot of fun. So with that being said, this is if US presidents were sneakerheads. Let's hop into it. And also in the time that this video is coming out, I think it's quite fitting for the month of February because we just had President's Day. We had all the other presidents' birthdays. So it's kind of cool that we are talking about US presidents in this month, and I think that this is the best time to honestly make a video on this. And I know that there are 45 presidents, and in no way are we going to go over each and every one of them. Instead, we're going to go over 4. So we're going to look at the presidents from Mount Rushmore. So George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Those are our 4 we're going to be looking at today. And for each of these presidents, I have selected 3 sneakers that I thought would be best for them. But I've also come up with an honorable mention, so maybe one that wasn't as great as the other 3, but I still wanted to add it to the list. But the first president we got up today is the founding father himself, the one, the only, George Washington. You know, in my experience in studying history, George Washington is by far my favorite president. I know it's a bit of a cop-out because he's number 1. Think about how hard it was to lead a country with no prior experience. He basically had to set that precedent for the country moving forward. You know, he came in as his underdog, serving in the British Army. He kind of failed and led his troops into a massacre. And then later on, now he's commanding the Patriots. He led us to independence and he took our country to places where we didn't think we'd be. And the first sneaker that I would give to President Washington would be the military blue Jordan 4s. So first off, it's a blue sneaker, which is one of the colors of our country, so it's kind of patriotic. And second of all, we have to think of the name, the military blue Jordan 4s. So first off, Washington was a military general, so for the fact that he's wearing a sneaker that literally has the word military in it is quite fitting. And again, because it's blue, I think he would like that a lot. Second of all, because this is a Jordan 4, I feel like when it comes to America, the number 4 does have a great significance to our history. Obviously, we have the 4th of July. So George Washington wearing a pair of Jordan 4s is also quite patriotic as well. And additionally, I feel like Jordan Brand has set this precedent for sneaker history. And in the same way, George Washington has also set this precedent for America in its future. And for that reason, I think George Washington and Jordan Brand would be a good match. I feel like George Washington would like a sneaker that is classic, timeless, easy to rock, but also packs a punch as well. And that's exactly what the Jordan 4s are. I don't know, in my opinion, I feel like George Washington isn't someone that would like a lot of color in his sneakers. So for the fact that this is a predominantly white sneaker, but it does have some hints of patriotism in the shoe, I feel like he would like this a lot. And the next sneaker that I would give to Washington would be the Teddy Santos New Balance 990 V6, made in the USA in the Reflection Marblehead colorway. Now, if you look at the colorway of the sneaker, there is no red, white, and blue on it at all, so it's not necessarily a patriotic sneaker. But honestly, another reason why I decided to choose this sneaker, if you look at portraits of Washington, obviously you think of like that white grayish hair that he has. And I just thought, what would be a good sneaker that kind of represents his hair, his appearance? And I saw this sneaker, I was like, it's gotta be a gray sneaker, right? Because the man is graying himself after years and years and years of leading our country. But most of all, I thought this was a perfect sneaker for Washington because it's said in the name. This is a Teddy Santos collaboration, and it is from the Made in the USA series. And that's why I thought that this would be perfect. Made in the USA. Literally, Washington founded the USA. I don't know of a better sneaker name that would fit Washington. And I almost forgot to mention another reason why I decided to give him a pair of New Balances. And this is kind of a stretch, but New Balances are often seen as a dad shoe. I mean, history books don't really spend too much time looking at his family life, so we don't really know how he was as a dad, but we certainly know that he is the father of our country. This is why he's gotta wear a pair of dad shoes. I feel like he's earned it. So a pair of New Balances for him is certainly fitting for who he is in our country's history. And for the third sneaker that I decided to give to Washington, honestly, it was a bit of a cop-out, I'll admit, but I thought it was quite fitting for this guy. I thought it was pretty perfect. I didn't spend a ton of effort into it, but I knew that this is something that fits who Washington is. And this is none other than the Air Force Ones. When you think of George Washington, I think the first color you think of is white. He has white hair, he's a white man, he has a white horse, everything about him is white. And like I said before, he also seems like a pretty simple man. I feel like even though he's the president, he's not someone that needs to live a luxurious lifestyle. Like after all, if he wanted to live as a king, he would have became a king. But instead he chose to become a president and he humbled himself. I mean, the guy grew up on a farm for most of his life, so he doesn't really care about the flashy stuff. You know, he needs something that's simple, that's calm, yet still has a pretty bold statement. And as an honorable mention, another sneaker that I would consider giving to Washington would be the Mason Margiela replica German Army trainers. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you think about US presidents, you obviously think that they're really old. You think about any documents that are from that time, they're all yellowed, they're all worn down, pretty deconstructed if you think about it. And when I saw the Mason Margiela replicas, I thought that this looks like a pretty worn down sneaker, and it's supposed to look like that. These designer brands like to make a sneaker kind of aged. And if you guys want to get technical in history, basically during the American Revolution, when America was fighting against Britain, they were pretty inexperienced. And one way that Washington attempted to whip his soldiers into shape and to discipline them was to gain assistance from a German army officer. And he sought help from Baron von Steuben. Now, with the help of Baron von Steuben, the military was able to receive a lot more training through intense drills. They were able to organize themselves better in their profession. And for that reason, we were able to win the war and become more successful. So Washington definitely admired von Steuben as a military officer, but also as a good friend as well. So for the fact that he would wear a pair of German army trainers just shows his partnership, his friendship, and camaraderie to von Steuben. I feel like that would be his way of showing that he is grateful for the help that he got from him. But yep, these are the 4 sneakers that I would give to George Washington if he was a sneakerhead. All right, and moving on to our second US president, we have another founding father of our country. The third US president, we have Thomas Jefferson. Now, Thomas Jefferson is a little bit different than George Washington. He wasn't a soldier, he didn't fight in the war, but he was actually more of a minister to France. So he spent a lot of time in France, and for those of you guys that are familiar with French culture, they have a lot of luxurious goods. They love shopping. They love a lot of materialistic, flashy designer goods out there. So I feel like Jefferson would be a little bit different than Washington. Washington is more simple. He's more plain in his taste. I feel like Jefferson would like a lot more colorful and flashy stuff. So the first sneaker that I would give to Thomas Jefferson would be the J. Crew New Balance 998s in the Independence Day colorway. I do not have to explain myself in why I chose this sneaker. For those of you guys that have taken like 5th grade social studies, you do know that Thomas Jefferson literally wrote the Declaration of Independence. He is the reason why we have Independence Day. And this sneaker is inspired by our country, of course. You see in the colorways, we have red, white, and blue. But I also like how this sneaker is not necessarily white. It's sort of kind of cream or eggshell, and it kind of gives off that aged look as well. I feel like for the founding fathers, you gotta give them a more vintage looking sneaker rather than something that's super clean. Not to mention, obviously, it does have our country's colors on it. So I think he would like this sneaker as well, given that he is the president of the United States. And then the second sneaker that I would give to Jefferson would be the Amélie d'Or New Balance 475s in the red, white, and blue colorway. So another red, white, and blue color, but I do have a reason more for why I would give him this sneaker. I just feel like Thomas Jefferson would be the type to rock New Balances. I don't know if he'd be someone to rock other kind of brands a lot, but New Balance just seems like a very vintage brand, especially with their collaborations. And I think that he would enjoy rocking a lot of those high-end collabs as well. But specifically for the brand of Amélie d'Or, so for those of you guys who don't know this brand, this is basically a high-end streetwear brand that is basically originating from both Greek and French backgrounds. So for a little bit of context, Teddy Santos, which is the creator of Amélie d'Or, came up with this name through a couple of translations. So Ame translates to loved in French. Leon nods to his father's nickname in Greek, and then Dor is a shortened form of his own name, which is Theodore. So the first two parts of that name are translated first in French and then in Greek. So first off, like I said before, Thomas Jefferson spent a lot of time in France. He has a lot of great friends in France, and I feel like he definitely is someone that is a big fan of France. So for the fact that Amélie d'Or comes from a French background, I think he would certainly rock with the brand. And that second half of the translation also comes from Greek. And for those of you guys that don't know, Thomas Jefferson also spent a lot of time studying Greek philosophers. He was a huge fan of them, which is probably where he got a lot of his ideology of freedom. And it's a red, white, and blue shoe. He would wear this sneaker as well. And then the third sneaker that I would also give to Thomas Jefferson would be the Jordan 10s in the Lady Liberty colorway. I think this one is also pretty self-explanatory too. I chose this one because obviously this is inspired by the Statue of Liberty. I feel like he would definitely love to wear this pair of shoes to symbolize his friendship and connection to France. You know, the Statue of Liberty was basically gifted to America to symbolize the connection, camaraderie, and close relationship that we have to France. And I feel like if Jefferson was a sneakerhead and he would wear that on his feet, he's absolutely showing that he is a friend to the French people. Not to mention, he's probably also one of the first people that come to mind when you think of the word liberty. Literally in his preamble, he wrote the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He would certainly love the Statue of Liberty. He's a big fan of the Statue of Liberty. Gotta give him the Liberty 10s. And as an honorable mention, the last sneaker that I would consider giving to Thomas Jefferson, it's gotta be the Golden Goose Ball Star in the white, silver, blue, red colorway. Now this one was a little bit different from the other sneakers. I feel like the other sneakers are definitely stronger matches for Jefferson, but the reason why I picked this one was because it does look super beat up. And again, when you think of the founding fathers, when you think of life at that time, I don't know why, you just think that everything is all worn down and deconstructed and aged. I feel like if you look at Thomas Jefferson now, his sneakers would probably look like they're in this condition. This sneaker is also pretty expensive as well. This is a designer brand. It's a designer kind of sneaker. And like I said before, Jefferson is more of a flashy guy. He likes to surround himself in the French culture. I'm sure that he loves that luxurious lifestyle. So for the fact that he's wearing a pretty expensive pair of sneakers is no surprise there. Again, this sneaker is red, white, and blue. It has a star in it, which symbolizes our American flag. So these are the sneakers that I would give to Thomas Jefferson. Let me know what you guys think of my picks. Let's move on to the next president. All right, and moving on to our third US president. He's not a founding father, but he is the founder of the US National Parks. We have Theodore Roosevelt. The first sneaker that I would give to President Roosevelt would be the Nike Dunk Low SEs in the Teddy Bear Praline colorway. Just take a look at this sneaker. I mean, like, look at the name of it, the Teddy Bear Praline. Now, for those of you guys that don't know the history of the teddy bear, they're basically inspired by the story that Teddy Roosevelt once went hunting and he saw a young bear cub and he refused to shoot it. Because of this story, they decided to name the bear, the stuffed bear, after Teddy Roosevelt, and this is where you get the name teddy bear. And the colorway of this sneaker is inspired by a teddy bear, so I had to give this one to Roosevelt. And aside from the red, white, and blue colorways that represent the US presidents, I also thought that Teddy Roosevelt kind of represents nature as a whole. You know, his conservation of nature, his national park system, he likes being outdoors a lot. So I thought he would like more earth, toned down, natural colors. That's why I thought that this orange color would also look good on him as well. I think it's quite perfect for him, given that this sneaker is literally named after the teddy bear. And the second sneaker that I decided to give to Roosevelt is the New Balance 998s in the National Parks colorway. It's quite fitting, right? Like, literally, there's two ways you can go about this. The first one, obviously, it's a red, white, and blue sneaker. As the president of our country, he's representing our flag. But also, this colorway is called the National Parks. I think that as someone that founded the National Parks, he would certainly be a fan of the New Balance 998s. And the third sneaker that I would give to Teddy Roosevelt is not actually a sneaker, but it's something that I would still give to a sneakerhead out there, the wheat Timberland boots. He loves hunting. He's a big fan of nature. This is kind of equivalent to almost like a combat boot. He was also in the military as well. I feel like Timberland boots are a good shoe for adventure-based activities. But another reason why I picked this shoe is because, for those of you guys that don't know, Teddy Roosevelt was actually born in New York, and he was the governor of New York. I certainly think that the Timberland boots would be a great shoe for him to wear. And as an honorable mention, another sneaker that I would consider giving to Teddy Roosevelt would be the Asics Gel NYC Utilities in the Steeple Gray Graphite Gray colorway. Now, this sneaker also came to mind when I thought of what to give to a native New Yorker. Literally, this sneaker is inspired by New York, which comes from the name the Asics Gel NYCs. So I feel like Teddy Roosevelt could wear a pair of these. Because this is also a utility inspired sneaker as well, I feel like as someone that goes outdoors a lot, that hunts, that hikes, he would also probably need a pair of utility sneakers as well. Now, the Asics Gel NYCs are a typical trainer or runner depending on what you use them for, but they're basically a lifestyle sneaker. However, this utility model actually covers a lot of the shoe with more rigid materials so that if you're gonna wear them for hiking or for the outdoors, they're a little more supported and they're not going to get ripped apart as easily. I also picked this gray colorway again because of the earth tones and neutral tones that he likes. I feel like Teddy Roosevelt would just be a really big fan of brown and gray. I think that they're nice colors that kind of blend in with the environment. So this is why I would consider giving him a pair of Asics Gel NYCs. So these are the sneakers that I would give to President Roosevelt if he were a sneakerhead. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I feel like this is also a pretty good one as well. I definitely think that I used more than the fact that he's a president, but I used where he's from and what he's a fan of in choosing the sneakers for him. And last but not least, the final president that we have on Mount Rushmore is the great emancipator himself, one of the greats, Abraham Lincoln. Honest Abe, the one that can never tell a lie, the one that was super tall with his super tall hat, the super sleek, lanky dude. But yep, in thinking about sneakers for Abraham Lincoln, I kind of took a bit of a different approach to it. Whenever you see portraits of Abraham Lincoln, you're always seeing him wear this black suit. It's kind of similar to how when I was a kid, the first color that came to mind when I saw George Washington was white. So I wanted something that was all black that would kind of match the rest of his color scheme as well. And I thought of sneakers, but I also thought that he might want something that is more dressy, something that might want to elevate his height as well. I know he's already tall, but something that can make him even taller. So the first sneaker that I picked for Lincoln are the Doc Martens 1460 smooth leather lace-up boots. I just thought that Lincoln would wear a pair of boots. I know that I'm supposed to pick sneakers because he's a sneakerhead, but Doc Martens are also something that a lot of sneakerheads consider wearing too. You know, if he's gonna wear his black suit, his black attire that he's most famous for wearing, I feel like he's gotta complement that with something dressy on the bottom. You know, you're not always supposed to wear sneakers with a suit, so I feel like Doc Martens are a little more acceptable. I feel like the leather material on this kind of matches that dressier vibe for him. And again, it also adds a couple of extra inches to his already incredibly tall height. I think Abraham Lincoln is standing on business for most of the time. So I would imagine that he also wants to dress the part, to look serious, to look professional, to show that he means what he stands for. That's why I think he would wear a pair of Doc Martens. But another sneaker that I would also pick out for Lincoln would be the New Balance 1906Ls in the black top Phantom colorway. Now, like the Doc Martens, this is also kind of a dressier sneaker. Now, for those of you guys that are not familiar with the 1906Ls, the L basically stands for loafers, and New Balance wanted to create a loafer version of their 1906 runners. When I first saw this sneaker, I thought it was so ugly. I thought, why would they want to create a dressy pair of sneakers with an athletic shoe? But more people started wearing them, they started becoming popular, so apparently they are a pretty well-liked sneaker. I personally would not wear them, but I think that Abraham Lincoln would certainly be someone that would like these as well. Again, they have this dressy look to them. New Balance makes their 1906 sneakers very comfortable. There's a lot of cushioning in it. If he's wearing sneakers that really help with the aching on his feet, I feel he's gonna do a lot better in leading our country. Plus, the 1906Ls are an all black pair, which would match the rest of his suit as well. And overall, I think this would be a good compromise to having that sneakerhead aspect to him, yet staying true to his dressy aesthetic overall. Now, I know that Abraham Lincoln's not a big fan of compromises, but a little bit of history humor right there. But anyways. All right, and the third sneaker that I would give to Abraham Lincoln would be the Union Fragment Jordan 1s in the Varsity Red Sport Royal colorway. Again, this is a red, white, and blue sneaker, so I think it's pretty appropriate to give to this US president right here. But the reason why I decided to give him the Union Jordan 1s, if you guys look at the name, the Union brand, Abraham Lincoln led the Union during the Civil War. So I think that this would be a great sneaker, a great patriotic sneaker for him. You know, it stands as a symbol for what he did for our country in preventing it from falling apart during the Civil War. At the same time, it's also a patriotic sneaker. Now, it's also a high top pair of sneakers, which I think would be great for any tall guy out there. If he wants to kind of just rock a little more casual look, he could swap out his black boots for a pair of Jordan 1s. I don't know, do you think Abraham Lincoln could probably dunk during that time? And as an honorable mention, another sneaker that I would consider giving to Abraham Lincoln would be the Jordan 11 Jubilees. Now this one, I didn't really have much of a reason to give him. I thought that, again, they're a black sneaker, but they're also made with patent leather. So I thought that patent leather would also look pretty good with the suit. I know a lot of people like to wear Jordan 11s with the suit, and given that he's wearing all black again, I feel like it would look pretty good as well. Oh shoot, I just looked it up. I didn't even know this. I looked up what is the literal meaning of Jubilee, and they're literally telling me the term comes from the Hebrew Bible and basically involves the freeing of slaves. That is definitely a Lincoln sneaker right there. I don't even know if this would be the honorable mention. I feel like this would be a better sneaker to give to Lincoln than all the other rest. So I did not do my part in researching the name of Jubilee, but now that I know that Jubilee has something to do with freeing slaves. We gotta give that to Lincoln. That's literally what he did during the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation. So yeah, this is a sneaker that represents liberty, that represents freedom. Literally what Lincoln worked towards. Wow, I did not know that. But yeah, these are the 4 sneakers that I would give to Abraham Lincoln if he was a sneakerhead. I think they're quite appropriate. But now I'll hear from you guys. Which of my takes on the US presidents were the best? Which sneakers do you think are the most appropriate that I gave to them? Let me know in the comments down below because I do want to hear from you guys. And as always, if you guys like the video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you guys want to hear more from me, smash the subscribe button because more will be on the way. Again, this is If the US Presidents Were Sneakerheads. And I see you guys in the next video. Peace.